So recently we did a user study for specifically for Galleon users, but we got some insights about people's Tezos usage and how they got into Tezos. So Maya ran the user study. What was the headline as far as Tezos is concerned, Maya?
Well, so we only asked like one question, how did you get into Tezos? And some of them had never even heard of Tezos before, which was interesting. Or they thought it was called Tesory. I don't know. But I guess how people got into it was through friends, or they happened upon Hen in one of their rabbit holes of like NFTs, and then they're like, "Oh, cool, Tezos! I should get into that." But yeah, does that answer your question, or what? I guess were you trying to ask?
No, that answers my question.
Okay, yeah,
So
The environmental angle was really huge. I heard a
yeah.
lot of artists talk about how that was a big selling point into why they were really found Tezos appealing, at least to show their art.
Yeah, like clean NFTs. That's
yeah,
important.
that makes a lot of sense, especially given all the NFT activity recently. Um, did you guys run
Yeah.
into any sort of legacy Tezos users, the ones that kind of came before NFTs got so big?
The OGs.
Yes. I'm trying to remember. So one guy, Billy, knew Kevin Marabi. And that's how, like, he's known him since like 2008 or something. And he said Kevin introduced him pretty early on to Tezos. And he's kind of running his own business out of Galleon, wrapping tokens and then selling them to people. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was a couple of user studies that we did. I think even for some of our projects before, and it seemed to be a lot of new people, which I actually found kind of interesting. It kind of was easier to pull newer people into pulling for these interviews. And we also sort of screened for them anyway. We wanted to hear the perspective of someone new versus someone who's been in the ecosystem.
Right.
But I wonder how that would differ. Like, how do you guys feel about NFTs as opposed to if you just started them now?
I think NFTs, when they started to become more popular on the platform, really were a very motivational use case for the platform that was otherwise not really being used a whole lot. So let's see, when did this whole NFT thing really start? Like about a year ago. And really it exploded in popularity, I want to say in March of this year. So prior to that, we had a couple of DeFi use cases that, they were popular in the context of the platform at the time, but they weren't like super popular, meaning that if you consider how many accounts are participating in um, those, how many accounts were using those apps, it wasn't a huge number, right? And then with NFTs, especially with Hickathon, we saw a huge influx of users and much higher participation in general across the platform because it was inexpensive. It was very experimental, very grassroots, and that was really cool. I think prior to that, a lot of the work that at least I was doing and that I had on my mind was technically oriented, meaning like what features do we need to add to the tools that we're building as opposed to, well, how do we make the user experience for the applications better? And now it's driven a lot more by the second than the first because the tools, I guess, are fine enough, right? But there's a
Yeah.
lot that can be done for UX,
Yeah.
and that's how I look at it now.
Awesome. And that's where our study comes in, Maya.
So Maya, you've been working professionally in Tezos now for the past few months, working on design. So what's your overall impression of the Tezos scene, the ecosystem so far?
Well, I mean, I don't really have anything to compare it to. I wasn't really into like Ethereum or like Bitcoin before. I mean, I used Bitcoin to like send money home when I lived in Korea, but I didn't really know that much about it. And it's honestly, I was kind of thrown into it, and the Tezos world, and it's a lot. It was very overwhelming at first. I still don't quite understand it all, even though I've been working here for 3 months. But like the people that I've talked to, like the community so far, I think has been really helpful and really cool. And just talking to like our users in the user studies that I've been doing has been insightful. I learned more from them, I think, just in doing those interviews. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And is there stuff like out of everything you've kind of been exposed to so far, are there specific things that you see yourself using more over the coming months as a human being, not just as a sort of Tezos professional?
Just like generally in terms of like
Yeah.
crypto and NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely like to start investing. I think NFTs, I've realized that there's a lot of potential. They're not just like digital art, especially with this like metaverse that's coming. I think I kind of want to get into it and just kind of see where it goes. I find it really, I mean, it's new technology. I mean, for the most part, it's already here. But I think it's just gonna like explode.